Hello and welcome everybody to another Clownversation. Happy Friday, everybody. So good to see you. If you're new to the Clown Spirit family, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, share this video with your friends. In just a moment, we're going to be talking to the amazing Phil Burgers, aka Dr. Brown, or maybe it's Dr. Brown, aka Phil Burgers. Who knows? But it's going to be good, so don't go away. Stick around.
It's just a conversation with a fellow clown. It's not very serious, we're clowning around. It's really just a clownversation.
All right. Hello, everybody. In just a moment, I'm going to welcome Dr. Brown, aka Phil Burgers, onto the Clownversation stage. But first, I just want to talk very briefly about Clown Spirit Village. Now, a lot of people I talk to want clowning to be more present in their lives. And often people find that's a struggle because maybe they have a very demanding job or a very mundane job that doesn't involve a lot of clowning. Or maybe because they live somewhere where there are not many other clowns, so there isn't that space of community and support. Or maybe it's because, it's hard to train, right? Maybe you can only go and take a workshop once a year. Clown Spirit Village is full of people like you who feel called by the joy and playfulness of clowning. And every day in Clown Spirit Village, I see them creating incredible things in their lives through that deep connection with the self and the world that clowning gives you. In Clown Spirit Village, we have masterclasses every month with clown experts. This month coming up, 10th of February, in fact, not this month, but next month, we have an amazing masterclass with Holly Stoppett. We also have weekly coaching sessions. We have a suite of on-demand clown courses, and we have a library of clown resources. But most of all, Clown Spirit Village is a dynamic and supportive community. Now, like many of us, I feel the need right now to be a positive force in the world. And of course, clowning brings so much that we need: that honesty, that vulnerability, connection, not taking ourselves so seriously, and above all, a sense of purpose and fun. So I invite you to give it a try. The link is up there at the top of the comments. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg. For just $49, you can try it for a month and see what Clown Spirit Village can open up in your life. And speaking of the chat and the comments, please jump into the chat and say hi. We love to hear from you guys. Let us know where you are today, where you're tuning in from. And maybe if you have any connections with Phil, Dr. Brown, if you've seen him on TV or in person, let us know about that. Also, just let us know what's going on in your life. Chime in with your questions and your comments as we talk, and I'll feed them into the conversation. So, you guys, it is time for me to welcome my guest. He is a really remarkable and very successful clown who has kind of made that shift back and forth between the United States and the UK as well, which is kind of an unusual thing. He can be seen in various Netflix specials, including The Characters and Feel Good, and in UK Channel 4's Dr. Brown's Comedy Blaps and Four Funnies. He wrote and starred in the award-winning short film The Passage, and also directed the Netflix comedy special Nate. Phil learned about comedy and silliness at the Philippe Gaulier school. He then traveled and toured solo and kids shows around the world and has worked in TV and film as a director, writer, and actor. He's also been teaching clown workshops all over the world since 2009. And I'm just thinking right now of one person who I had on the Clownversations and is extremely successful himself, who trained with Phil. That is Vigo Venn. So maybe we'll touch on that during this conversation. Phil is an amazing clown, an amazing teacher, and I'm so grateful and honored to have him on the Clownversation stage. So please give it up for Dr. Brown.
Thank you. Please stop. Please hold the applause.
They stopped.
Just stop like that.
Yeah, just like that. They're very obedient.
Snap my fingers and everyone stops.
Yeah, it's magic. Hey, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody.
It's really lovely to meet you. We've actually never met until today.
Yeah. Whoa.
What was that?
I don't know.
It looked like a dog, like a little animal.
Is that on your screen? Whoa.
Is it like a giant spliff?
Wait, what the heck? It's a
Phil, look out.
Attack of the Giant Bananas. All right. Enough clowning for
I love that. I love how you can play with scale on
That's right, yeah.
You know, there is this great potential for very low tech kind of effects.
Yeah.
Like, the flower, yeah. You know, the battle with the flower.
You could have like a little Godzilla or something too.
Yeah. Totally. All the possibilities.
Let's do it.
And you have a very beautiful looking sort of it's almost like a church window just behind you with
right. How is the lighting? Because earlier when we were talking, I was in a different room.
It's terrible, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Is it pretty bad? I don't know what is. Should I change this so it's not as backgroundy?
Come on, you've made Netflix shows. You should know about lighting.
I wasn't on the camera side.
Right.
I was on the front of the camera side.
Before we jump into more sort of like historical things, what was that like working? Like, you presumably have a full-on professional crew. Is that something you were used to, comfortable with?
No, it was not something I was used to, and I really didn't like it. And my experience with like working on film sometimes has been that there's like too many people and too many like technical hands around and just like too much tech around. And it kind of gets in the way of like the play, you know? So, but yeah, I had a friend who was with me on the set and he kind of encouraged me to let it all go, and that really helped. But yeah, in the beginning I was very like anti-crew, you know, and still am a little bit like anti the circus. I think like when it comes to filmmaking, sometimes people just have so many useless hands on set, in my opinion, you know. And I've seen like really great work come out of a crew of like 7 people. So
yeah,
but then I guess you can also use it and I have before to just like entertain the set, you know, because so much of clown is just like about the audience. And when you're playing for the camera, you don't feel the audience so much. Yeah. So you can just like be very aware of the people on set who are like holding the boom, and you're trying to make them laugh so that they can like drop the boom or something, you know.
My favorite bit in that characters show was like you're inside the coffee shop and there's a couple talking to each other in the window and you're outside.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out how to get in.
Yeah. That happened to me in like I think I did like an acro yoga class at one point. There was like a huge window and like someone was like trying to get into the class and like the teacher was like, no, that way. And they like kept coming back. And it was really funny.
Well, it sort of has that chime of truth about it. Cause I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure we've all experienced that thing where you're outside the restaurant and you go in the door, but it's like not the door.
Yeah.
It's like, and there's an arrow saying enter that way. And
yeah,
you go over here and then there's all these people right there looking at you and you can't figure out how to get in.
Yeah.
But when you came back with the bear, fighting the bear. Sorry, spoiler alert. I shouldn't have given away that.
Did you notice the bear at the end too? There's like a bit where I take people into my house and we're in a living room. You know, I don't know. And then at the end there's like a little scan of the room and the bear is like this like stuffed bear in the corner.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah, just watch that part.
I love that the little pictures change by the door as well. Just little touches.
Yeah. Sorry?
The little touches, you know, just the detail.
Well, that's it. It's right by the little photo. So it's like just before it comes to the last photo.
Right.
The bear is there.
I'm going to have to watch it again.
Yeah.
Beautiful work anyway. So I was going to ask you also, I'm sure you've had this question like a million times. How do you actually pronounce the show that you did in 2012 that won?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never personally pronounced it, you know. It was a kind of a development of an evolution of the previous show's names. So I think the first show that I did was called Dr. Brown Behaves. Then it was Dr. Brown Because. Then it was Dr. Brown Becaves, which was like a mix of because and behaves. And then the last one, I was like, what do I do this time? You know, and I was like, just frustrated. And I just like banged the keyboard, and that's what it became.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Befrdgth.
Yeah. A lot of people have tried to pronounce it, and I think it
failed.
Comes out the same way every time.
But it's a brilliant, what's the word? You know, like a marketing thing, like the unpronounceable name.
Yeah. The best review I ever got for that show was a review written in gibberish.
Superb.
Yeah. So it was just like the guy got it, you know, it's like, oh, fuck, why are we talking and explaining? And, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, let's just play in a way, you know, without any meaning. So
yeah. Is that something you tried to avoid then, like explaining, talking too much about the comedy?
I think so. Yeah. I think like a child would never explain to you what they're doing, you know, like they're just like, what are you talking about? I'm just playing. And they wouldn't even call it play or something, you know. They're just like, I'm just alive in this moment. And yeah, I think that's like what clown is like trying to get back to, and for all of us adults who are doing it, you know, it's just like that state of like open, vulnerable, present play, you know, that children are in so effortlessly and seemingly all the time, you know. I mean, even when they're sad, like they're there. Or not playful, they're still there. So yeah, it's like those guys would never want to explain it, you know. But maybe, you know, as adults and like with our mature brains, it is fun and interesting to try and explain it. But sometimes I think it can get in the way. I just talked to someone yesterday who's actually building a show in the UK, and she was like, she was applying for grants for her show and like having to really like explain what the show was and like the dramaturgy of it all, and you know what it meant, and and she was like losing the play with it, you know. She kind of didn't want to do her show anymore. So it was interesting to just be like, well, you got to kind of put that all totally aside, you know. It's good to think about, sure, and it's fun to think about and talk about, but then when it comes to the actual doing of it, like you really can't be thinking about any of that. Nice, a King Barnaby teacup. I like it. I like how you're just like subtly giving signs to the audience of like King. Like I should have like I am the best or something here. Like,
oh, dude, I have that mug. I have that exact mug that you have there.
Well, that's good.
Very similar anyway.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever commented on that before. I like that you commented on it, that you saw it.
Well, because you did it very like you were like that almost, you know. Yeah.
Coffee with Barnaby. Okay, so
King Barnaby, vote for King Barnaby. I mean, although you wouldn't
right, that's not how kings work. You spent some time in the UK, so you should know that.
I know. You're trying to give a subliminal message to any of royalty in the UK right now. Like, it should be me.
Right. Wait, just be careful, because if I come back, I'll be wanting my throne.
I mean, those guys are kind of clowns, you know, like, and I think that's the one of the greatest things about clown is like, shit, we're all clowns, and like these kings are pretending like they're, you know, not, but they are.
Cool.
And to be able to reveal that about them is interesting, you know. And
are they high status? They're high status clowns, right?
Yeah, totally.
Keep their authority.
Yeah. Well, high status in public, you know, and then I'm sure like behind the scenes are very low status.
With their flower, you know, with their everything pristine and beautiful. So I would like to know a little bit about your. Yeah, you keep going with that banana while I'm talking.
Yeah, sorry. Just go to town on this banana right now.
It's okay. You probably
Sorry,
haven't had breakfast yet. This is your breakfast, right?
Is it a little bit insulting while someone's asking you a question to just eat a banana?
It would be with anyone else, Phil, but you know, because
But
it's you.
But with King Barnaby?
No, I was going to say because it's you.
Oh,
I would be
okay.
I would be insulted by anybody else doing it, but you know, you're the doctor.
The doctor can eat his banana.
Right.
Benevolently.
Where did Dr. Brown come from? Is there a story there?
I studied with Philippe Gaulier in Paris, and I did almost two years with him. And the last workshop I did was a clown workshop, and I was absolutely terrible in it. It was an 8-week course, and but maybe the last week I had found a little something where this guy told really bad jokes, basically, and it kind of worked. And then, you know, I didn't perform for a while because I was like so broken afterwards, and I was like, I got to go find another career or path. But you know, I was in Amsterdam because my brother lived there, and I was visiting him. And my father, who is Dutch, had told me about this like English comedy club every Monday night. And so I went with my girlfriend at the time and asked them if I could go on stage and do these like 5 minutes of this really terrible joke teller guy. Excuse me. And just before I went on stage, the guy was like, all right, I'm about to introduce you. Like, how do you want me to introduce you? And I was like, I don't know. The words just came to me. I was like, Dr. Brown. And so he put me on. And then a couple months later, I hadn't performed, but I moved to London. And I just remembered that word, Dr. Brown. I was like, just telling people, yeah, just can you introduce me as Dr. Brown? And then just kind of stayed.
And that's it from then on.
And that's it. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I haven't really like fought with the name, you know. I've never like been like, hi, I'm Dr. Brown, you know, like I've never, I feel weird saying that. Like even writing my name in the thing, Dr. Brown, I was like, whatever. But
so does it feel like a clown character, or is it just like a stage name that then can take on different clown characters?
I think that's it. But I think the spirit ultimately of it is pretty clowny.
Yeah.
You know, like, but I mean, I wouldn't do drama as Dr. Brown or something,
right?
You know, like, but yeah, but different forms of comedy. I think like there's a lot happening nowadays where people who are like building shows or making numbers or something like, well, you know, it's kind of clown. It has a little bit of clown, but also like some character stand up and all that and Buffon. And it's like, who cares? Just whatever you want. You don't have to define it necessarily. But
are you involved with Chad and the kind of clown LA clown scene?
I was more, but you know, I've kind of like once COVID hit, I just kind of like went a little bit of a separate way. But I still love those guys, and I'm in touch with them and all that. But yeah, have you had Chad on here?
No, but he will be on soon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, give him my love, please.
I like his podcast quite a bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Stand Up and Clown. It's called.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's going back to Gaulier, right? You mentioned you had this like terrible experience, but do you look back on it like I'm glad I had that experience, or do you not really like
that? It wasn't terrible. It was just like that clown workshop that was especially difficult. You know, I say terrible only in the sense like I really wanted to be funny and I wasn't, and that feels quite terrible, you know. But it was really for me like. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing if it wasn't for him, you know, or for his guidance and for the experience that I had there and for the other people that I was watching there, you know, and was so inspired by. But yeah, I mean, I came at it when I first entered, like, you know, maybe there was another way to get to this place where I'm able to perform in this way, you know, that was not through Gaulier necessarily. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's very ego bruising, you know, and then there's so many other nuances after that. Like once you get your ego kind of bruised and you recover from that and not come on stage with so much ego, there's still so many other things to be learning and applying. But yeah, so it was all of that for me, and I really needed all of it, you know.
I
But
guess you hear a lot about the ego bruising part. You hear the no, get off, and
yeah,
then you don't hear so much what happens when people start to become successful or find something. What does he do with you then? What does he do with that?
yeah, that's a whole like other important half, you know,
Yeah.
like one is a kind of like, you know, I'm a little reluctant to say like the breaking, you know, like the breakdown of you, because I think there's a lot of theater schools that do that, like kind of break you and then like build you up in their own way. Where I feel like he's not breaking you, he's just breaking this like facade that you have or that you think is like important, you know. Nice one, Barnaby. Saw that. We all saw that. But uh, you know, so he kind of helps break that facade, and then you know there's so many other elements that come in once that facade is broken, you know, like a sensitivity, your playfulness, your fun, your pleasure, your connection to the audience, um, you know, playing with images a lot, and then yeah, I don't know, I can't really get into his whole pedagogy at the moment, but
I'm trying to remember. I had somebody on who, created a show with him way back. I'm trying to remember who it was. It'll come to me. Oh, maybe it was Cal McChrystal,
okay, cool, yeah, yeah.
like 20, 30 years ago.
Mm.
And actually Gaulier was directing the show and it was a total disaster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've heard.
I think they made it work eventually, but at first, maybe that's just not really Gaulier's thing, or
It's really odd to think that, because he'll help you kind of craft a scene in the moment, and he's like, okay, now go high here, and you're like, wow, and it's incredible. It's beautiful to watch someone else be guided by it, by him, and the work that comes out of that.
Yeah.
And he'll just kind of structure this whole scene live in the moment with the person, and it's like the most incredible scene you've seen. But yeah, and then you hear stories like he's like when he did try to direct, or when he did direct, it was a little bit odd.
Do you channel him somewhat, or are you inspired by him in your own teaching?
I am, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like, he has this approach, like, as you said, like, it's a lot of like no, which is like the via negativa, which I think is a very like French European approach, versus like the American way, which is much more about like positive reinforcement, saying yes to the things that are working versus saying no to the things that aren't working, until the via negativa approach is like until something comes that is like a definite yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I've definitely used that. The positive reinforcement. Sure, once like the vehicle has been established of the performer, like I think a lot of it is like it's no to your way of being on stage. It's like no, like you're still playing this facade, or you still haven't fully cracked open and let us see you, and you're not letting like the moment guide you. You're still kind of playing from your head or something, and so it's I think it's cracking that. And I believe once people are pretty aware of their presence on stage, and they know how to kind of, they are cracked already, then you can start bringing in the positive reinforcement more and be like, okay, that bit worked there when you did that was good, that was great here. So it's kind of a balance. But I do believe, like, I just taught a class, and people were working on numbers, and someone who was like very kind of new to the work came on and did their bit, and like it mostly didn't work. But what mostly didn't work, in my opinion, was like they weren't even playing in the world of clown. Like they didn't have the kind of important elements that one needs to be quote unquote clown, you know. And so afterwards, I kind of just was like, no, you know, like, sorry, no. But of course, like explaining a little bit why. But then there was someone else in the class who would do this quite often, and be like, well, I really liked when you did this. And I was like, okay, yeah, you know, like that was good, sure. But if he builds a whole number off of that, like it's still not gonna be as like incredible and, you know, impactful as when he's like working with the vehicle. You know, he still doesn't have the vehicle yet. So we can't be complimenting him on these things. Anyway, it sounds a little bit harsh, but yeah.
How did he take it?
I mean, he took it, you know, he took it. Like it hurt, but I think he was like, all right, I get it. Like I get that I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, sure, I did this, I dropped this thing and it was funny that I dropped it, but okay, are you going to do that? Like build a show off of that now, or, you know, build your whole clown identity off of that? I don't think so.
Because you're not saying that he can never clown. You're just saying there's some fundamental building blocks that are missing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's the fundamental. It's the foundation. You know, it's like we need to establish a very strong foundation where you know how to be open on stage, where you know how to connect to the audience, where you know how to follow impulses, not come from here, come from here, go with your stupidity, be very in touch with your stupidity, you know, feel it when it's not working. And yeah, so it's like those elements were not there, so it's very difficult to try to build a clown number when those fundamentals are not there.
It's been interesting talking to people on Clownversations and noticing there's a kind of almost, I feel, a generational difference. There's an older generation of clowns, by which I mean kind of people older, you know, like you know, in their 50s or 60s or more, who really cut their teeth on the street and learned what it means to clown by being in front of audiences a lot.
Yeah.
You know, just like in their youth, in their 20s, just being in front of audiences all the time. And it matters financially whether you're on or whether you're open and connected with the audience. So there's high stakes. And then there's a younger end of comedians and clowns who seem to have come more through a kind of workshop, training, school kind of thing. And that's where they've learned. And there doesn't seem to be so much now of people just learning by just going out on the street and figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're like, if you even go to Edinburgh, you know, there's a bunch of street clowns out there, and you know, there's a lot of like street performers playing in the world of clown. I think like, yeah, it's funny. I had a friend, Canadian guy, who would tell me, like, in Edinburgh, he's like, the best clowns are like, don't come to Edinburgh. You know, like they don't do their shows. Like they're on the streets in like Chile and just all over the world, you know?
Maybe.
And yeah, I mean, I think like workshop is in my case, like I did a year and a half with Gaulier, and then I like did the London comedy stand-up circuit for like 5 years, you know, every night, like cutting my teeth on that. So I don't think someone can learn clown personally just like in a workshop. I think after that, I think it can give them the fundamentals and the tools to then go like build stuff, but you have to do that in front of audiences, you know. And like, and so much of the practice is like, you know, I always say like your audience is like your canvas, like a painter's canvas. Like a painter can't just like paint on thin air. Sure, they can paint on a wall or on the streets, but they need something to paint on, you know. And like a clown needs an audience just the same way a painter needs something to paint on. And like
that's a great metaphor, if that's, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's where you really build your skill as a clown, you know, or the craft of clowning is with the practice of going up on stage, you know, and being with audiences and playing with them, you know.
There's a great story that Vigo told when he was on about being in a workshop with you, in Wales.
Okay, yeah.
Somewhere in Wales, and him failing and failing and failing, and then you guys just like, he was in tears.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I didn't put him in tears. The work puts you in tears, you know? It's like when you're confronted with this shit of like, man, what am I doing that's not working? It's not some asshole teacher who's being an asshole to you. It's just like you're not entering into the space that you want to enter, and like the space is bringing the tears. Anyway, that's like a full defensive part on my part, but yeah. so what happened? How does the story continue? Does it have a happy ending?
I think just that, not within itself, but just that, you know, he had to go through that in order to discover something, and that it's part of the process. And now, you know, he struggled for a long time. I think it was just one example of.
Yeah, he did. Like, I will say, he did do something in that workshop with like these like Norwegian flags and a sock or something that was really funny. And like for like it was a 6-day workshop, and for the first 4 days, I was like, who is this guy? Like, why is he even trying to do this work? You know? And then he did this bit. I was like, oh my God, he has something really poetic and special about him. I had no idea. And so he like, things were starting to come, but anyway, yeah. It's I mean, as I said, you know, my experience at school was like, especially in the second year that I did, like I was especially bad, you know, and lots of tears, not necessarily on stage, but at home, or, you know, just being like, fuck, what am I doing that's not working? Like, I thought I was funny, you know, like I was funny with my friends. I want to be funny, but I'm not. And yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if everyone needs to go through that process. You know, I don't know. I don't think that's everyone's path necessarily. And yeah, I don't think so. I think a lot of people can just come on and like find their funny quite easily, and not through all this suffering, you know.
Would you say you're a naturally funny clown now? Like, do you find it easy to be funny, or is it something you still need to work at?
I think when it comes to like playing with people, I can tune into it pretty easily, you know. It's like a vehicle, like, and like I know how this, I mean, it doesn't mean to say like I'm gonna kill every time I try to like entertain someone, you know, but I will feel I can like pretty easily follow my stupid impulses, you know, and I can get in touch with them. And when I mean stupid, I mean just bad, you know, like it's just like anything, like you just do anything, and you do it with a spirit of like lightness, you know, and so that I can tune into. Again, like maybe no one will laugh, you know, for the whole bit that I'm trying to do, but I think like they will sometimes too, you know.
I'd like to. I'm curious about the kind of journey of your work. When was it that you finished what you did Gaulier? How long ago?
I finished Gaulier in 2007. So I went there in 2005. You know, the fall of 2005, and I finished in the spring of 2007.
So it's getting on for 20 years, like 18 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And what has been the journey of your work? Like, I know it may be a long story, but maybe there's a way of.
You're like, don't make it a long story.
No, you can make it a long story, but maybe you also have like a sense of what that journey has been overall, from the kind of work you started doing in those London clubs or whatever, when in those first early years, to like where you are now. What's that trip?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, like I took many months off after I finished school, you know, like, because I was like, I'm not gonna do this. But we had created a show with like 8 people called Potato from different countries. Everyone was from a different country, so it was like a melting pot, hence Potato. And we toured that a little bit. We actually brought it to Edinburgh, and I was doing this Dr. Brown character, you know, who told the 5 minutes of jokes, and then along with some other characters. But anyway, and then and then I kind of took a break, and I had my brother who was living in London at the time, and I had a friend, Daniel Simonson, who I went to school with, who's really great stand-up. And he was living in London, and he's like, you know, you can perform every night of the week here. Like there's open mics. You can even do like 2 or 3 times a night. And I remember Philippe telling us, like, I remember I was really suffering in class and clown, and I was like, Philippe, you know, is there anything I can do? Is there any homework you can give me? Like, is there anything I can do on my own? And he's like, the work you do is with us, you know? So it was like, there was no homework I could do. Like it had to be with an audience. Again, like the painter needs their canvas.
Yeah.
And so I was like, shit, I need an audience, you know?
Yeah.
And Daniel was basically saying like, you can have an audience here in London every night of the week. So after I kind of came out of this little crisis, you know, that I was in post school, I moved there and just started doing the stand-up circuit, you know, and mostly open mics, but then I got booked for other gigs and all this for like, you know, doing 5 or 10-minute bits, and just like every night at least once, maybe twice a night, just like would perform. And yeah, I mean, like in the beginning I would speak, you know, and I just do these kind of like absurdist jokes, like these weird jokes, or like really bad magic, you know. I'd put like a rice cracker in one pocket and then like pull it out of another pocket, like I don't know, but it's really funny, trust me. No, but and then as I started to do more and more of the stand-up circuit, I started to like subvert the medium a little bit, you know, and like come on and like everyone's like, hey, how's it going? I can't tell from my accent, you know, I'm from America. I just be like, I can't tell from my accent, I'm from Norway. And anyway, and then also just like right away talking or something, like then I just wouldn't talk right away, you know, or like they like do something with a microphone to like adjust it, and they're like, hey, how's it going? Like I would just take like 5 minutes to do something with a microphone, and then and that didn't require any speaking, you know, or I'd trip on my way on the stage, or just like start playing with all like the non-speaking elements of stand-up, you know, and then just like bringing props on stage, and then slowly I just like spoke less and less and less and less, and then as I would do hour-long shows, you know, I wouldn't speak for the first like 20 minutes of one show, and then the next show I wouldn't speak for the first 40 minutes, and then like the last couple of shows I've done, I'm like, I'm just not going to speak because it seems like I don't really need to, you know. So it was like, you know, logistically what was happening was I went to London doing the stand-up circuit, and then I started to get on this festival circuit where I would go to Edinburgh, do like the Free Fringe there, do half a show in the Free Fringe, and then eventually an hour show. But then a friend of mine told me about the Australian circuit, you know, which was like Melbourne Comedy Festival, Adelaide Fringe Circuit, Adelaide Fringe, Sydney Fringe. And then I would just go to Australia for like 3 months of the year. And that's where I would start to build shows, you know, and audiences were like really warm and invite and like love this kind of stuff. So I could really take chances. And then I would bring that to Edinburgh basically. And, you know, I did that basically until, you know, from 2007 to, you know, 2000. I mean, I did that for like 6 years pretty diligently, you know, and like a lot. And then I made a kid show, and I toured my kid show with my adult shows, and I teach workshops and all that. And then for like 3 years, I started like improvising shows and still did the circuit, but a little bit less intensely. And then I like, you know, moved to Los Angeles, where I'm originally from, and just started doing more like TV stuff. And then I kind of joined the Lyric Hyperion Theater in 2016 to 2020, and like took over that theater, and we're making shows there, directing shows more. I wanted to like less be on stage and more like help people do this. And then just like creating group shows, wanting to be more with people, you know, ensembles.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and just like, you know, like everything kind of burned down, and which was good. And now I'm in like this like rebirthing stage where I'm not like, I want to play more with the camera, you know, and see how to bring how to just like make really silly things with the camera. So so that's kind of where I'm at the moment. But I still tour, and I'm taking my a new show. I made a new show. I'm taking it to London and teach in Norway.
Oh, cool. This summer?
This spring, yeah. This spring, I'll do Soho Theatre in April, and then London Norwegian workshop in nature.
Nice.
You can find out about that, but
who's that? Who's organizing that?
Karin Huge. She's a great Norwegian clown. She did Gaulier, but her family has like a farm, like just outside of Oslo, on like an island outside of Oslo. And I've done a workshop there before, and yeah, there's like 20 people from all over the world who come for like 7 days, and there's a cook, and we're just like outside a lot. And
is that full up? Do you know, or do you?
No. I don't even know if she's like started advertising it, but
okay. Yeah. Well, maybe that's something if people are watching and they're interested, and they want to work with you, that's an opportunity.
Yeah, I will say like the really beneficial thing about something like that, and what Gaulier was for me, I was the only American in that school, and there were like 3 other Brits, and then everyone else was from a different part of the world. You know, so you come on stage and you have to make, you know, someone from Japan, Colombia, South Africa, you know, Spain laugh, and they have different cultural references than you. Yeah. So you have to make them laugh like a deeper level than just like the cultural stuff, you know, and that was really special for me, you know, and that's what I like about the Norwegian one, is that people come from all over the world, and then you're just like laughing at someone who you don't know anything about their culture, but they're so beautiful because they're showing you a part of their humanity, you know, which is like cultureless.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the deeper conversation now about clowning and what it means to you, because I feel like there's I don't know if this is right or not, but I feel like there's a kind of a surface level of clowning which is to do with performing and getting good at performing. Maybe that sounds kind of derogatory, but I don't mean it that way.
There's another aim in mind with it, you know.
Yeah, like what is clowning for you in the deeper spiritual kind of, I don't know, personal way?
I mean, I'm still on that path, you know, of discovering what it is for me, you know. So I don't feel so confident maybe answering the question. I mean, I will attempt to answer it, but I'm like, I think I've mastered to some extent like clown on stage, you know, but I think it's a whole other thing to master that in life. And you know, I think a lot of people who really, I guess, understand and appreciate this work, it's like, yeah, their objective is the life application of it, you know, and I think that is like ultimately what it can be used for, and I'd like to use it for that, and I think that's ultimately why I got into it, you know, but I'm still learning that, and I think, you know, I think that's very difficult.
Why do you think you want to do that? Like, what is it about your life or yourself that you feel like you need more of that? To get personal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm gonna start crying now. Well, maybe. I don't know. You know, I might be wrong. But I do feel like, I think, yeah. I don't. Just as an attempt, you know, and I'm understanding this as I talk about it, so it might not come out so clearly or eloquently, but it's like when you're on stage, and you know, this happens a lot in workshops, like you see someone coming on and they're trying to understand it in the moment with you, and like and pushing this idea of theirs on you, and they're not accepting what the audience is giving back, and not letting it go, and not being open to the moment where the moment is guiding them, and using their sense of fun and play to continue in a direction that seems to be working, you know. So I think it's that, it's coming, what gets in the way a lot of people who are learning this is like they come in with this ulterior motive that they will not let go of, you know, and they won't let just the moment guide them. And and the moment being what's happening in the audience mostly. You know, that's sort of the stage application. And I think that's like the same thing in life. Like, I mean, I can do that quite well on stage, but then in life, you know, it's like I have all these ideas and these things that I want to like push into the world or onto myself. And I'm not just like reading the room and feeling what's happening and letting it go and then following it with, you know, my joy necessarily. And in some ways I do that, but in other ways, like I get stuck in this, like, no, that was the idea I came on with it. I'm not going to let it go, you know? So maybe that's,
I like this. I like this. So just picking up on a phrase you just used, let the moment guide you.
Yeah.
Is that good life advice?
I don't know. I'm not the one to be asking about life advice.
No, I guess I'm just asking the world. I'm asking the universe. Not you. I'm wondering, right? Because I find it, I definitely impose my fixed idea on the world and on my life all the time. I'm like always projecting stuff out and not really not letting the moment guide me. And I would like to be more, hey, what's here? What's right in front of me right now? How can I engage with that in a more playful way? And a
playful, more open way. I think that's why I think the ultimate application of clown is like in life, and I think that's much harder to do, you know, because you don't trust it. And like so much of clown on stage is like trusting. It's like trust the letting go of your bad idea and letting this experience of what you're experiencing now with the audience, just let it like let go into it, you know, trust that it's going to yield something, even though it's only yielding pain at the moment, you know, like something will come from it, like, but you have to trust that something will come, that the letting go in order to you have to let go of what you had before. You know,
we play a game sometimes in coaching sessions, because you know, you were asking earlier, I think before we came on, like how I'm applying this sort of in an online environment. And one of the games we play in coaching sessions is, if you can call it a game, it kind of is, where people talk about what they're struggling with in their real life. And then we think about, okay, if you were a clown, or using clown principles or logic or ideas, how could you come at that thing in a different way, that thing you're struggling with, right? So we're sort of like applying this clown logic to these real life problems.
And
that can be fun. It actually can be really fun to think about that.
I think that's a great way to you know, deal with your problems or something, you know, or approach your problems, or it's just to be able to, it's ultimately just being able to laugh at all the shit that you're going through.
Exactly. And it's not even that we're trying to solve the problem, really, or trying to change the way that we're dealing with the problem necessarily. But in the moment, that we imagine how we would deal with that problem in a clown way, makes us kind of laugh out loud together, and then we all feel kind of much lighter and like, oh, that's not such a big deal. Maybe.
Right. Totally. Yeah. It like alleviates the suffering, you know, the laughter alleviates suffering, basically.
Yeah.
And again, it's not the solving of the problem. It's just like, okay, well, sure, we're suffering, but you know,
Right. Which, I mean, that's what clown performance does. Like, I watched your Netflix special, and there were numerous moments where I was like, that is so speaks to me, you know. Like, I see that something that I had thought was my deep personal shame, that's just me, that I'm going around with, and now I'm seeing the clown embody that, and therefore takes the weight so much away from me.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I think like we all think that our like shame or personal suffering is very unique to ourselves.
Right.
It is really reassuring to see that, like, oh my God, so many other people have the same thing, you know? And if we all just like admitted it together, maybe that in itself would alleviate some of the suffering, and then also just elicit some laughter about it too. It's like, oh my God, you're going through the same thing. Like, yeah.
We should just have a big shame circle, you know?
Yeah.
With the whole world.
Yeah, I would like that.
I'd like you to lead that. I think you
okay. All right.
We're going to do it.
But that would, I mean, maybe that, you know, that is like a lot of suffering. It comes from shame too, you know? And it's like people, I think if we didn't feel like we should be these like perfect individuals, you know, or these like ideas of ourselves that we haven't lived up to. Anyway.
I want to ask you one more thing before we finish.
No, I'm going to stop there.
I have this this idea for maybe a separate podcast or maybe a segment in this podcast called the F word.
Okay.
And basically, the F word is funny. So it's a discussion around funny. To what extent, I guess, is it important in clowning to be funny? What is funny? Do we need to try? Does it work when we try to be funny? What is your general teaching or thinking around the F word?
In the context of clown, I think it doesn't need to always be funny. You know, I think it can be beautiful. I think it's like showing beautiful spirit of humanity, you know, like your own humanity, and which is reflective of, you know, overall humanity. But yeah, I think you can cry. You know, clowns can make people cry. So I think beauty is more the thing that clowns can bring, you know. But I will say, like, when I'm teaching, you know, I'm looking for the funny. But I think in people's pursuit of the funny and not finding the funny, beauty can come, and sadness can come, or a beautiful sadness can come in that too. So I think like your pursuit of the funny can open up the doors of sadness too, you know, and being able to show a beautiful sadness or wonder, or, you know, or stillness, awe. And so it doesn't all, you know, as an audience member, you don't always have to be laughing. You could just be watching in complete wonder and awe, or crying, or whatever other emotional capacity we have.
Why? We both at the beginning. We both. I noticed that we were both wearing stripes, and I said something about how it's emblematic of clown.
Clown spirit.
Why do you think? I have different theories about this. I don't really know. Do you have a theory why stripes are kind of connected with clowning?
Yeah, is it like because of the mime or something? You know, like the mime outfit.
I mean, that's one reference point, but I wonder why even that became a thing. You know, why? What is it?
You're asking the wrong guy. I'm sure there's somebody out there who does know the answer to this question. But
I just, it was what you just said that made me think about that, because it's something to do with the light and the dark and the shades of balance.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not just one thing. We're not just light and funny. We go into the dark place and the suffering and the beauty.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
And it's a bit like the nose, and it reminds us. We need the nose sometimes to just remind us, oh yeah, that's what clowning is, even if we don't wear a red nose.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's, I think that's beautiful. And again, like the F word, you know, it's like, yeah, funny is a very crucial element of it all, but also the suffering and the darkness and the pain and the sadness is just as important, you know. And I also believe that when people allow themselves to access that in front of a group of people, the funny comes. you know. But
yeah, and it's sort of the difference with stand-up, because I think stand-up can be, like, has to be funny really to be successful, and some stand-ups might be deeper and going into that darkness, but you don't have to, and maybe it's really difficult to, in fact. Whereas with clowning, it feels like that's the permission that the clown has, is to take the audience on that journey, and it might be quite awkward and uncomfortable at times.
Yeah,
and that's all right with clowning. Whereas in stand-up, it's really not.
It's harder to show vulnerability, I think, you know, in stand-up, where the clown, it's like absolutely necessary. If you don't have the vulnerability, it's something else, you know. But yeah, stand-up, you kind of have to be like on top in a way. But that's not true for all stand-up. I think it's funny. Like Richard Pryor is definitely like a guy.
Oh wow,
you know. But,
for sure. And Steve Martin. I mean, you know, there's a lot of stand-ups who are clowns, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And somehow they've like also become like the best one, like Steve Martin, you know, or Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy even. But
totally. Well, Phil, we've been talking for an hour, and as usual,
I am exhausted. We've been talking for an hour, and I need to go now.
Do you want to? Why are you so tired? Just from the talking?
No, I was imagining you would say that. You're like, we've been talking an hour.
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
On that note, King Barnaby.
It's been really fun talking to you.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Yeah, I look forward. I want to come to, you know, see what's happening in Oregon, or, you know.
Yeah, please do.
Please invite me to Oregon.
Please come. Please come. You know, there are some people in Portland who are sort of orchestrating clown things, and I'm not really one of them, but I could connect you with them, and we could set something.
Stefano Iaboni or something, Italian guy.
Yes, okay, I've met him.
Yeah, I met him in Spain through Django Edwards, who's a great clown. I mean, kind of, great clown. He talks a lot about like clowning in life, you know, and I think
Django, you mean?
Yeah, Django Edwards. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he used to when he was alive. Maybe he still does.
He's still alive.
Django's not. No, Django died.
When?
Maybe almost a year ago. Oh, in the last year. Okay.
Jesus. All right. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry. And on that note, goodbye.
It was a very amazing thing. He was doing beautiful things right up until the end.
Wow. Shit. Jesus. Yeah, I spent time with him in Spain and in Baltimore, but he was a really huge inspiration for me. I need to say, and he comes a lot more from the American sort of positive reinforcement. And I had him after Gaulier, and it was nice to spend time with him. You know, like he would get us chanting, "I'm a clown and I'm proud," you know, and that was like, I left Gaulier being like, "I'm not a clown." You know, I am not a clown. And like just suddenly to be like chanting while these people be like, "I'm a clown, I'm proud."
I'm proud.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and it helped me, you know. So I think it's like a balance of the two, going back to that via negativa thing. But yeah, Django's, wow, he's special.
Sorry to be the bearer of those tidings.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about the smile and the importance of just smiling.
Yeah.
In life.
Yeah, definitely.
Really good to remember. Phil, beautiful. Thank you so much.
And to all those out there, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't know. Enjoy the journey. You know, the world just needs a lot more levity now. I mean, it always has, probably. You know, I don't want to say now more than ever, but so hopefully we're all a part of, you know, contributing to that levity.
Well, you are, for sure. So thank you for all your amazing work.
Thank you.
Beautiful. You know what you're doing. Keep doing it, please. And we're so grateful.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Barnaby. You too. And lots of love to you. And and not everyone out there.
Bye, Phil.
Okay. See you, Barnaby.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another Clownversation, another fascinating, in-depth exploration and reflection on clowning from a unique perspective, and a unique performer and artist of clown. Love it. Love his work. So thank you so much, Phil, Dr. Brown. Thank you all for coming. Next week, I'll be talking with an interesting person who people in the UK in particular will know, Phelim McDermott, who is a wonderful improv performer and comedian, and more famously, a theatre director from Improbable Theatre. And they're very celebrated and well known in the UK, a little bit less so in the US. So he's not specifically from a clowning background, but it's going to be really interesting talking to him about his perspective, his experience, and what he thinks about clowns. So join me for that. And of course, don't forget about Clown Spirit Village. Check that out. The link is in the comments at the top of the chat. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day, weekend, wherever you are. It's been lovely clownversating with you. Bye for now.